also do this. All right, we'll call the May 6th Springfield Planning Commission meeting to order and stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Gina, we're ready to call the roll.
Mr. Townsend.
Here.
Mr. Poole.
Here.
Mr. Bibb.
Here.
Mr. Allen.
Here.
Ms. Richard.
Here.
Mr. Tackett.
Here.
Mr. Gregg.
Here.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Ms. Boyd. We have 8 members present. We do have a quorum.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the April 1st minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They will stand approved. First item under new business tonight, 4.1 is the Brenda Haynes subdivision plat. Is there a motion to put this on the floor for discussion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, Dave.
Thank you. Ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you again, Commissioners, for being here this evening. This is you've seen the rezoning. This is the corner of Ruth Street and Golf Club Lane. Ross Fans Company came and asked for that rezoning. We gave that rezoning, the Planning Commission did. They have since turned in a site plan and a detached townhome subdivision plat. So this is what is being presented tonight. All the construction plans have been approved. They will have to put up a bond for the drainage, but the rest of the work they're going to do, water, sewer, there are going to be 9 units on this corner. What Mr. Fan's company would like for you to do, the subdivision plat, is the technical aspects of that plat are correct. His company is going to buy this property by deed from Ms. Haynes' estate. And then they will be the owner. Right now, Mrs. Haynes' estate is the owner. They're going to then get the plat with a new owner certificate, new title of the development that they're going to do, and they're going to do this between today and the July Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. So next month they're going to be coming with their surety, their performance surety for the storm drainage to you and to forward on to the planning Board of Mayor and Alderman. So they want to make all of this come together because they're going to have a homeowners association, and they want the homeowners association owners' documents to match their company and their development. So we are asking that you approve the subdivision, and when we get a new plat with the new owner certificate and the new name and title block correct, we will then have, the company will sign it, we'll have everybody sign it but me. The day after the July board meeting, their company's attorney will come. I will sign the plat. She will take it to the county and record the plat and all of the homeowners association documents and charters, and then they will bring back copies of that to us. if that would be suitable to y'all's, to make that decision, but that is their request, to approve the technical aspects of the plat, and then we as staff will make sure they hit all the marks. There's nothing conditional about the plat. Yes, sir.
Okay, Bob?
And all utilities are addressed, there is no issue whatsoever with
Yes,
it?
sir. They did that on a site plan. And, yes, sir, we've got all of that addressed, the stormwater management, sanitary sewer, water, wastewater.
Are those the retention ponds there on Ruth Street, the dark areas?
Well, that is where the detention is. They're shallow ponds with cells for volume underneath, and then they'll discharge, and it goes across and into this one, and then discharges into the existing ditch here.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second? I see a nod, but I have
Yes,
no voice.
I thought I heard it.
All right. Is there any other discussion?
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
What happens if all these things don't fall into place?
Well, we're talking about 45 days out. They have already made arrangements to purchase the property from the estate. I won't sign the plat until it falls into place. The schedule is the day after the July meeting, Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. If they're not ready, I won't sign the plat until they bring it to me. Obviously, if the plat doesn't come together, I can't, we can't have staff sign it, so.
Okay, anything else? We have a motion and a second, and we're ready to vote.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Mr. Tackett?
Yes.
Ms. Richard?
Yes.
Mr. Bibb?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Our next item on new business, first thing, I want to say how good it is to have everybody up top. I was looking at the back of some heads before, and you'd all look better up here. Next item on the agenda is 4.2, Eden Point Phase 2, Performance Surety. Is there a motion to put this on the floor?
Motion.
Second. Got a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Eden has, we've approved his second phase. He's done quite a bit of the infrastructure work, and for the second phase, which is 17 lots of 30, this is the bond amount that department heads and myself came up with. The draft irrevocable letter of credit is in your packet for that amount. It will become active on the 19th of May 2021, and it'll expire the 19th of May 2022. And as always, we put the caveats in. If we start looking at these things 90 days in advance, and if they're not ready, we either make them give us a new one, or we will have the city attorney start the process of executing on the irrevocable letter of credit. So, staff recommends that we accept this performance surety for Eden Point Phase 2.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Did you make a motion, Bob?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get my seatmate over here to make one.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
And Buzzy seconds. Is there any other discussion or comment? When we're ready to vote.
Ms. Richard? Ms. Richard?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Mr. Bibb?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
All right, item number 4.3 under new business is the Kumar property annexation and rezoning. Is there a motion to put this on the floor for discussion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
So,
We have a motion and a second, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Kumar and Miss Linda Kumar have petitioned for their property on, located at 2923 Old 431 South be annexed. They have authorized George Vogler to be their authorized agent during this process. The property contains 92.4 acres. And it's this blue property, this outline, it is contiguous with the city limits of Springfield right here. This hashed area is approximately 4.37 acres of old right-of-way belonging to Old 431 South and Tom Austin Highway, and it is contiguous to the city limits of Springfield at that point. This annexation will create our fourth donut hole. These three parcels right here are not wanting to be annexed. So these three parcels will remain outside the city limits of Springfield. The zoning for this is running concurrent in this resolution. The developers have requested an R7 plant zoning classification with a planned unit development overlay. What the planned unit development overlay will do for them is allow them to have mixed use. There's not really any real density increase based on the gross number is how we calculate PUD densities. So there was no additional provision for densities on this property. So presently, they have presented a preliminary PUD master plan that's currently under review and will be coming to you next month, and we will have on the agenda a public hearing for that planned unit development before any business. That's in accordance with our zoning ordinance. So a preliminary look at this is that presently they have proposed approximately 568 dwelling units on this 92 acres. It's composed of approximately 200 single-family homes. It will then have provisions for townhomes here, in these two locations. It has a provision for cottage homes running along this particular cul-de-sac, and then it has provisions within for approximately 248 apartments. Okay, so the multifamily will not be sold. The multifamily will be rental property. The single-family homes will be sold. So within the resolution that we handed out to you tonight is, of course, the description of the right-of-way and the property, and Exhibit B is the proposed plan of services for the property and the annex right-of-way of Tom Austin and Old Highway 431 South. If you look at the end of Exhibit B, George Vogler, the authorized agent for the Kumars and his, within the development company, has signed and agreed to this plan of service. They will be responsible for the construction of the road that attaches to William A. Batson Parkway. They will be responsible for attaching the infrastructure to this 18-inch sanitary sewer. There is across this road. Am I correct in that, Mr. Beers?
Yes, sir.
And because it's a planned unit development overlay, you as the planning commission can allow them to do things that are not 100% in compliance with the subdivision regulations. Proposed trails, they don't have all of their amenities. The house is going to stay a clubhouse. They're going to have on-site property management, living in that house and making sure that everything is maintained properly according to the homeowners association that they're going to establish. There are other amenities. I've heard the mention of a dog park, but it's not shown. But and this is the preliminary, and it will be in 4 phases. So if the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approves by concurrence, and if y'all will recommend the annexation and the rezoning, the next phase will be they will give us a final master plan for each stage and a schedule of development. And vision plats or plat, depending on how much of this they develop at one time for the single-family homes. And then they're going to do the townhomes, and they will turn in site plans for that, construction plans, road plans, all of those plans. So all of that takes place during the subdivision approval, the site plan process. That you need to be aware of, because this is a PUD and we're giving higher densities. We get a few items. One of the items is the areas that are within the 50-foot right-of-ways will have sidewalks both sides of the street. The road widths will be 24 feet. This main road right down to Batson Parkway, it will have a 60-foot right-of-way, and it'll have a 26-foot road width. With anticipated plans of future development on this parcel here. Another thing to notice, because we have a little leeway with planned unit developments. The fire code says a truck is allowed to back up, a fire truck is allowed to back up a maximum of 150 feet. There are no cul-de-sacs proposed on either of these streets for that reason. Neither one of these exceeds 150. And it's in compliance with the fire code. It's not it's one of those areas that we can allow them to do. Overall, it's a pretty good proposal. We will, of course, you guys will see every final PUD, master plan, subdivision, We're gonna probably bring every town, every phase of this to you. Because it's a PUD. I'm just gonna say it now. Every phase of this PUD will be in front of you. Site plans, subdivision, construction plans. And, they have to be pretty close to this. Now, I haven't dealt with big subdivisions like this, but Mr. Vogler has, and Mr. Vogler always tells me that it's easy to get this laid out on a piece of paper. It's difficult to get it to lay out on the ground, and he says he usually loses a few units. He never gains any. So we're going to see if his crystal ball continues to hold true if y'all move this forward. So, staff is, like I said, the plan of service hits everything that we have in it, that we had concerns about. Very specifically, it is outside the 2.5 mile area apparatus response area. They understand that. Water is available, but they have to do they have to get it to their site. Same thing with the sanitary sewer. Electricity, well, they want to be using Springfield Electric. I think because they're contiguous and they, Dr. Kumar probably is on CEMC, but we'll make arrangements for that one house to switch over at some point. I don't know how much it'll cost us, but we'll have to cut a deal with CEMC to get that house. But the rest of it could be ours. Don't know yet if their gas is not available at this time, but it could be extended into the service area if they request it. At this density, gas department would be glad to put the pipes in the ground and sell some gas if they're interested. Street refuse collection, we've got that covered. We've got the roads, like I said, they're going to be responsible for all the roads within the development, and they will be responsible for this portion. It's my understanding that Mr. Batson is going to sell them the right of way so that they can get to there. I'm sure he's probably worked a deal to get access to that road for his property, both sides. It's remaining. Community development will do inspections and planning and zoning immediately upon annexation. So we'll be watching, we will be doing the full subdivision review. Street lighting is going to meet, we have an underground street requirement now. There'll be decorative types of street lights. The facility or the development will join our Parks and Rec programs immediately, and they are going to make provisions, not shown yet here, but they have to make provisions to meet the MS4 requirements for the stormwater management. And the developer is responsible for all of that. So with that said, we recommend the annexation and the rezoning to R7 with a PUD overlay. Springfield's Community Development Department and department heads and staff make that recommendation.
Okay. Now, the road that comes out on the old highway there, that's going to be upgraded also for right there?
This road is not.
Right. Okay. So they'll have two accesses.
Yes, sir, they will have two accesses.
With that many people in one area,
They'll have
they
to.
have more than one, yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, you couldn't do this without two accesses, no, sir. We have a cul-de-sac limit of 30. That would pretty much kill this project if they only had one access. Unless y'all waive that, I don't think you will.
Okay, other questions?
What are the price range of the homes going to be in that, for the single-family homes?
Well, I couldn't answer that question. Perhaps Mr. Vogler would like to take a stab at that.
You're thinking,
George, would you come? No, here. That's a camera.
we're thinking they're gonna be in a range of probably 250 to 400,000 or 500,000, because there are gonna be several different square footages in there, 12, 14, 16, or 14, 16, and 18. So it's gonna be a full community, and all the houses will have access to the clubhouse and the pool and the tennis courts and the park, and there'll be one common HOA that will oversee all of that. So we're putting in a community is what we're looking at doing there.
That sounds really good to me.
Yeah.
We've been looking for stuff like this for quite a while, and I kind of wish Commissioner Hollingsworth were here to cast a vote on this one.
Bob?
The annexation of the right-of-way, is that currently county right-of-way, state right-of-way? What is it?
That is, it is state and county, and it's described as such within the description of the right-of-way annexation.
And the next, on the preliminary drawing of the plan, the road down on the dead ends down on the right, come all the way down, yes. Are both of those lots of equal depth? You could put a temporary cul-de-sac right there that would allow for people to get lost and go all the way down there and not have to turn around and back up in the middle of the road.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all discuss temporary
Well,
cul-de-sacs?
we have discussed temporary cul-de-sacs, and, you know, their goal is to maximize now.
But that particular road on the right, there is
It's the
nothing,
26-foot wide road.
but there's nothing to inhibit on the right-hand side
This
because
side?
of it not being a lot.
Yes, sir, they could possibly do,
That's your larger
Or a
road,
hammerhead.
right? That's your wide road,
Yes, sir.
26-foot road.
and, you know, feel free to add that into this. that you
Well, I
want
just want to make
see.
sure that y'all discussed it.
We
looked at
have,
it.
but y'all have to be comfortable with it too. I'm just telling, they know their fire code and they presented it knowing that the planning.
Well, overall, the
commission
project
has-
meets good, solid planning. Which is what, you know, our job is, to determine what makes good planning, what makes bad planning.
But if you would like, when they come to us with that, if you would like to see a temporary cul-de-sac on that 26-foot road, we will be glad to make sure that that happens.
That's all I have.
Okay, I have a question about the public hearings. If we approve the rezoning and the PUD tonight, and the mayor and alderman take it up next meeting,
Well-
then that PUD will that will be there. It would-
Okay. You were on, tonight, this planning commission will recommend the annexation, the rezoning with a planned unit development overlay. That's all we're doing, is annexation and rezoning. Next month, June, we are bringing to you the preliminary planned unit development master plan for this development. And there will be a public hearing. And after the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting this month, if they pass this on the first reading, we will I've got a letter all ready to go. We will notify all the property owners in that area that are contiguous and across the street. You know, I've got like, I think 15, 16 families I'm gonna send that to. I'm sure that will multiply quite rapidly after the people will know after those letters get delivered. And so there will be a public hearing for that preliminary.
Just the master plan.
Just the master plan, preliminary planned unit development master plan with you guys. There will also be, that same month, a second public hearing with the Board of Mayor and Alderman for the annexation, rezoning, plan of service, and the preliminary PUD master plan. So there's two public hearings on this preliminary planned unit development master plan. So we're going to give everybody ample opportunity to look at it, see it. The public notice will be similar to this map with the description, the dates for the annexation public hearing, the dates for the planned unit development public hearing. We're going to have the public notice and the resolution posted at the county office building, Stokes Brown Public Library, here at City Hall. We're going to have a link on our website to that as well. There's no reason you cannot get this information.
So if neighbors do feel the need to show up for the master plan, they come here. And if they, for the whole thing in general, it would be the public hearing for the mayor and alderman, for the second reading.
Well, there would be, yeah, at the second reading, there'd be a planned unit development, there would be a public hearing for the annexation, rezoning, plan of service, and then there'll be another public hearing for the preliminary planned unit development master plan for this proposal. Okay, so there'll be ample opportunity for the public to come and speak their piece. And keep in mind, well, we'll talk further, but public hearings are not question and answers. They're speak your piece and allow the next person to speak.
Okay.
David, where the wastewater sanitary sewer will intercept into the city, is there a lifting station or a pumping station there?
Well, we don't know the full requirements for the development of this subdivision at the present time, you know, but all of this sanitary sewer will enter this 18-inch interceptor and head to our wastewater treatment facility. This is Mr. Roy Dale. He's the engineer working with GVTP Developments, and he'll be glad to answer that question.
I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. I just want to have an opportunity to speak, and that's good leeway for me. Everything on the plan is designed gravity flow. It'll all gravity flow towards the existing sewers. But I just want to have an opportunity. I'm actually my 42nd year of engineering, and you'll think, how's this young guy do that? I'm 68 years old. And I have done work in probably 25 states. I do work extensively in Nashville, and you have a great staff. I just want you to know that. Every time I've had a meeting, every department's in that meeting. It's very refreshing. They're all knowledgeable. They're professional. They're looking out for your best interest, and I'm telling you right now, it's a great group. I'm sort of at the end of my career, but if I thought I was at the beginning of my career, I would have an office right here in Springfield, because I think you got a bright future. So I just wanted to say to you that you've got a great staff and that you should be proud of them. Thank you.
Okay, back to my question. Okay.
All right, on your sewer.
Your position there for a minute.
Yeah.
It says a capacity assurance request has been submitted to the city of Springfield. If it's all gravity flow, and all of a sudden the increase, and there has to be a lifting station or a pumping station, I understand that that will be the responsibility of the developer, correct? Not the city. We're right?
Yes, and I guess your experts here that runs your water and sewer department, I think that each phase of this development comes online, there has to be analysis done of downstream conditions to make sure that the capacities are there. We've had those discussions with them. So this development will not be implemented without the assurance that the capacities exist.
Good deal. I know it's going to come down the hill, but
Yeah,
it's
got
got to
it.
go back up the hill again,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
There may be something downstream that needs to be looked at. I understand that. Thank you.
Justin?
Mr. Vogel, this question would be for you. Are you all willing to consider the temporary cul-de-sacs? I know that could take into, you could losing some capacity, but I think that's something we need to look at.
Well, we had talked about that, and we looked over here, I mean.
Yeah, I think it's easy to do it on that main 60-foot right-of-way, since you don't have a lot on both sides. I think you could do an eyebrow, or you could do a cul-de-sac. It's a large enough T intersection, more or less, for a fire vehicle, but I think your concern maybe is like just general public going down there and like, oh, what am I going to do? So I think that we could create, I'm sure we'll be more than happy to create an accommodation for someone going to a street thinking it's going to continue on and it doesn't.
Okay.
The only reason that becomes a safety issue at that point, because of somebody backing up, and with that many houses, you're gonna have kids out potentially playing in the street or driving a bicycle or whatever. Anytime you can keep somebody from backing up to turn around,
Yeah.
you're much better off as opposed to.
I think that's really important on that main road, for sure, the 60-foot right-of-way that'll carry the majority of the traffic. So I think that's a good observation, and I think it should be added to the plan. And I think we'll come back next month with PUD, and I know staff will be getting with us, and we'll be adding a lot of other detail, like the locations of the parks and what's actually going to happen in those, and how they're laid out, and so there'll be more detail. at that time.
Any other questions? Or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval.
Okay, is there a second? We have a second.
Yeah.
Motion and a second.
Who did the second? I'm sorry.
Jim? All right, we're all ready to vote.
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Poole,
Yes.
Mr. Bibb,
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Gregg,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
passes 8-0.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Are there any people here that live adjacent to that property in the audience? I don't see any hands.
No, we
Okay.
haven't let them know
Okay,
that yet, that.
Is there not a sign?
just
Is there
so
not
they
a
know they'll
sign
have
over
their
there?
chance.
I'm sorry, sir.
Is there already a notification sign for rezoning?
Yes, there is some
There is.
For
notification.
annexation and rezoning, I think.
Annexation, and it's also been publicized in the paper.
But like I said, after we send out the letters notifying them that there's going to be a public hearing for the annexation and rezoning and the plan of service, and then another for the preliminary planned unit development master plan, I feel confident that more people will. They'll call us. I don't know if they'll show up, but they'll definitely call to ask information.
I've got a question regarding the public hearing. Part of that is a PUD requirement or PUD the only time the planning commission will actually go through a public hearing?
To my knowledge, an actual public hearing,
If we don't do
Yes.
them on a rezoning.
and I'm gonna investigate that further. Technically, Mr. Allen allows pretty much any item to be a public hearing. If there are people in the audience that would like to say something about it, even though it's not advertised as a public hearing, they know what's on the agenda, and to date, our planning commission has always been responsive to those individuals that have questions, concerns, and comments.
And in the past, we have had several public hearings on rezoning. We don't have as many as we did then. But you kind of like to have input if input's there, even if it's an unofficial public hearing. All right, item number 4.4, rezoning 3220 R.A. Benton Lane from R10 to MRO.
So moved.
Was there a motion to?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Justin.
Was there a second?
Second.
Okay. We're ready, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dustin Brand and John Trout, they moved on me, authorized agents for Mr. Rogers, correct, Thomas Rogers, have requested that this 20.53 acres that is along R.A. Benton Lane be rezoned to multiple residential and office. We did mention that we would like to see some commercial, and they have presented a preliminary plan that shows some commercial in this area right here, and approximately 199 units. We have got the old one in there, but 199 units. They have met with us, our staff, our department heads. They've presented their requests. We have reviewed it. There is sewer capacity and water capacity there. There are some concerns by the fire department, and they have backed off the number of units for that concern for some of that concern, but the fire department is still kind of apprehensive about it. The Public Works Department, you know, after review and thought and review of available data, yesterday, Clayton Moore sent me an email, and I'm going to read it to you. Mr. Moore is helping his daughter move this weekend, so that he was unavailable to be here. It is the opinion of the Public Works Department that rezoning the property on R.A. Benton Lane from R10 to MRO is not advisable. The property will be connected to Main Street at a less than ideal location in relation to the intersection of South Main Street and Highway 431. The city is currently conducting traffic counts on Main Street to have a more up-to-date traffic count. However, records from 2018 show that there is an annual average daily trip vehicles per day of 8,787 vehicles per day. That is well above our arterial standards. This development with a proposed unit number of 199 will add an additional 1,194 vehicles per day at a distance of approximately 200 feet from the previously mentioned intersection. During peak travel times, this will have a very negative results, particularly for those attempting to make a left turn from Benton Lane onto South Main Street. Due to the location of the tie-in point of this development, Public Works cannot recommend the rezoning of this property. If an additional connection could be made on South Main Street further north from the proposed intersection of South Main and this development and further from Tom Austin Highway, the department will re-examine this subject. So the department's concerns are the availability, you know, with that level of traffic twice a day, you know, because you have two peaks, morning and evening. There's also a concern about the stacking availability here, or the queuing availability for cars. With the concerns of the fire department, the recommendation of the Public Works Department, the City of Springfield staff does not recommend the rezoning of this property to MRO.
Okay.
The petitioners, the authorized agents for this project, the property owner are here if you would like to ask them any questions or...
If it's zoned R10 now, how many lots could be put in there on the property as it is?
Well, if they had more than one entrance, they could get probably maybe 62, maybe 70 if everything worked out right. But if they only have one entrance, per the subdivision regulations, they can only have a 1,200-foot long cul-de-sac and a maximum of 30 lots.
Okay. Other questions, discussion?
I mean, I think I have some questions about it. Are you all willing to make some changes there?
Yeah, do you want me to stand up there or just?
Yes, please.
My name's John Trout, and I am working with my partner Dustin, and Josh Lyon is helping us with the engineering. I appreciate the commission for allowing me to speak tonight. I'll be brief. This is quite a, and David, I think you'll agree, this is disappointing to us, to say the least. We've worked really hard to try and get these types of questions answered, really hard. And I'd like for Gina and David to back me up on that we've tried to do everything we could. We met with all the department heads in this very room maybe 3 weeks ago, and Clayton Moore was there, and he talked a little bit about the cars, but never suggested any of this that we're hearing. And then he sent the email David, will you confirm when he sent you that email?
Yesterday.
Sent that yesterday. And so I'm pretty disappointed that he wouldn't have said something to us and allowed us to combat, or I shouldn't even use that, but to work through that. And so I know it's a little late now because here I stand at a meeting that we've been so excited for and we really felt confident about. And we've worked with David and Gina, and then the fire department, I may respectfully disagree with David a little bit. They do have concerns, but if the fire department would like to speak, it was our understanding that they felt like we could work through it, and I'm not sure they would have recommended deferral as David made it sound like. So it's unfortunate for us because I know that he's presented this as something that wasn't good, but this is a complete shock to us this evening, and so it's disappointing. And Dustin, do you have anything you want to mention?
Yeah, we apologize. Usually we would have mitigants to concerns, but this is the first time we've heard this. So, like I said, it wasn't something that we had been made aware of or knew about. So we weren't really prepared to answer that question because we didn't know it was a concern. Now, I met with Chief Glodowski, and that's one reason we took the density down from 247 to the 199, because with one entrance, he thought that we would need to sprinkle things in order to fall into code. So that's what we were planning on doing, is all these homes, or all these townhomes, having sprinkler systems which would allow for it. So we're a little bit apologetic because I don't know, it's been a concern that's been thrown at us. We didn't know it existed, so I don't know where that necessarily leaves us. But
we came in pretty confident and just got shaken up a little bit. So,
Would you guys be willing to pull this until you have time to discuss this and
We-
bring it back to the next meeting?
we would, and we'd appreciate that opportunity if that's okay.
That allowed?
Yes, you can defer it, Mr. Bill.
Make a motion that we
Motion to defer.
that they- Either we defer or you pull it. I don't care how you want to do it.
if I could ask a question, discussion is helpful for us, so I think there might have been, as opposed to just deferring it, or does anybody have other thoughts that they'd be
You'd rather
concerned?
defer than get a no, right?
Oh, yeah. So I guess I need to.
Will, and I think we're very willing to match concerns. You
Well,
know,
I think you need to come back and go back. I have a question regarding the border of the property where Benton Lane comes in. Does that not go all the way up to the intersection of Benton, or is there a weird ownership there?
If I could speak, there's a little place right here that would be improved. I picture there being a nice turn lane right here. It would run off of Main and Benton. So this would all be improved into a newer, larger intersection.
We had always discussed to make this improvement to already been anyways. We knew that we couldn't come out right on the existing already been as is. So this intersection would have to be improved nonetheless.
Would that be wide enough then where you could do a double turning lane coming out of the project onto Benton Lane?
Yeah, I believe the traffic study would indicate a left and a right turn out off of already been.
All right, we do have a motion to defer, right, Bob? And a second, Buzzy. Any
Okay.
other questions? All right,
My
we're ready.
concern all along is the number of cars that you're gonna be dumping onto a small road. Up the street north on Laura Road, we've already approved an annexation that's gonna be 70-plus units. And down the street a little further, 28 other houses, and the residents of that area, that was their main concern. There's too much traffic on that smaller road. If this wasn't at the end of the road, I'd say it was way out of the question. But if you can bring something that will prove to staff as well as us that it's workable, I'm not opposed to things like this. We need to grow.
Thank you.
Will, and it'll be our goal. See if we can't get something working on the road and things.
To defer, no set time or anything like that, you want just until they bring it back?
Until they can bring it back.
Okay, got it.
Okay, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Bibb,
Yes.
Mr. Gregg,
Yes.
Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Poole,
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Passes to defer, 8-0.
All right, under new business 4.5, rezoning R7 to MRO, and this is on 23rd. Is there a motion to put this on the floor for discussion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second. Okay, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Reyes Construction Incorporated has petitioned to have 3.53 acres that is presently zoned R7, and all three parcels front 22nd Avenue from R7 to MRO. The bigger portion, the bigger parcel is contiguous to the Woodland Apartments there on 22nd Avenue. So they have three parcels that they have proposed to be rezoned. Their proposal looks like this. This is 22nd Avenue, and there's 51 proposed units here. After discussion, staff would recommend that the maximum density be similar to the density that's at Woodlands Apartments, and that density is approximately 3,800 square feet per dwelling unit. That would give a maximum number of units, if you choose to go with that, of 40. It's more than they could do in R7 because it would be a cul-de-sac and they could only do 30. There is some question about sewer capacity. Am I not correct?
Yes, sir.
There has been some sewer capacity previously allocated. If that sewer capacity is not used, it becomes available, and then Mr. Reyes's project could pick up 40 units. But if it becomes, if another project begins and they commit to using that, then there would not be sanitary sewer available. There's, water is available on 22nd Avenue as well. Public Works just had some comments that, the future plan would need to have the sidewalks extend to 22nd Avenue. Of course, the other comments are basically about site plan development. Where's the dumpster going to be? Where the trash receptacle's going to be? General layout of landscaping, those types of things. Stormwater says that the USGS map indicates there's an intermittent stream on the property, and a hydrologic determination would be required before development. So they would have to address any concerns about whether that's a wetlands, whether it's an actual stream, and make provisions to ensure that that stream does not, the waters of the state do not become contaminated. Fire hydrants would have to be installed, but this is a preliminary. It's for rezoning purposes. We will, your staff will review the site plan that they submit, and the number of units is going to be below the 50,000 square foot threshold that normally we bring stuff to you. We can handle that, or that if you move forward with this rezoning, we can handle that if you wish. If you would wish to see it a second time, we'll let you know when we've had the submittals, and any one of you can ask for us to bring it to you for approval. Otherwise, he's going to do R7 and only have 30 maximum lots.
Those would be houses, correct?
If in R7, yes, sir. But once again, we have expressed the board's concerns about, desire to see home ownership. It is my understanding that Mr. Reyes has every intention to rent these units. Homeowners Association, we would see the site plan like we saw on Ruth Street, and then you guys would see the townhome subdivision plat. Mr. Reyes would probably, in his particular thing, would be much like Matt Blackman out on Oakland Road. He would have 5 or 6 townhomes together, 2-story, single-story mix, 4, 5, or 6 in one building, that kind of thing. That's what he's showing right here. They're unlike what Ross Fans presented, is similar to what's taking place at Village Greens. Now it's detached townhomes. So, you know, you just buy the unit that you're not attached to anybody else. Tucker, who's doing that, is having a lot of success. He's selling them as fast as he can build them.
If this was left at R7, the sewer capacity would be fine, would be okay?
There's a couple ways, can I speak?
Come here, Tim.
Yeah.
Sir.
When you evaluate the sewer capacity at this particular location, the slope of the land or topography is going to dictate which way it'll be served. The other way they're talking about going back to the Sleepy Hollow pump station, that's an overloaded station. There's a capacity that's already been given, I guess, to another subdivision, but it will expire in August if he doesn't move forward. Usually we only grant these for a year. Going there, that's what I'm saying. If he went that way, then there's not. Now, going the other way, unfortunately, we're under another project that has to be completed before you can add to that basin. So right now, it's just, that's the way it is as far as how it would flow. It could actually be designed 2 different directions. But if it goes toward 22nd, it'll require a pump station to go there, if you want to know that. That'll require, but that's just what it is. It's allocated up until, I think it ends in August. And if the property owner or the developer hasn't moved on it, then it moves on. I only give a year approval. If they don't do anything, it doesn't tie it up 10 years. You're not going to come back and say, I want to do this now. So that's where that is. So I wanted to kind of clear that up on. It could be served 2 different directions. One falls toward a large interceptor and another falls toward a pump station. It's just the lay of the land will dictate exactly how it'll be served.
Okay, and did the staff have a recommendation on this?
If the planning commission would like to recommend, well, staff recommends that it be rezoned MRO with a maximum density of 3,800 square feet per dwelling unit. I will need you to make that in your motion so that I can amend the ordinance to put that in there, so that everybody knows the maximum density would be 3,800 square feet per dwelling unit. And that's what we recommend.
Amend the ordinance as it's currently written, or amend the ordinance only for this specific project?
Amend the rezoning ordinance for this project.
The rezoning ordinance as
yes, sir. I apologize, I didn't put rezoning in front of the ordinance.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So 30 houses or 40 townhouses?
Yes, sir.
But it still is yet to be determined, though. It's kind of...
Yes, sir. You know, if you rezone it MRO and put the caveat in that it will have maximum 3,800 square feet per dwelling unit, he may be able to get sewer one way. At some point in the future, he'll be able to get sewer going towards 22nd Avenue, but that work is not complete yet. So the property will be zoned MRO, and you might not be able to do anything with it for a little while. Could be a few months one way, could be a year the other way.
The hydrologic features on the site could definitely impact the way it looks.
Yes, sir. And this proposal is the beginning. Mr. Reyes has talked to some other people about maybe doing a different design and making it a little bit nicer. Has the potential, you know, putting in more landscaping, putting a grass courtyard in the center and putting the buildings around the outside. That, you know, this is just a representation of what can be done at the maximum, 51. But we can, you know, when the site plan comes in, we can see what it goes as, or if you do not rezone this, we can, you know, you will see a subdivision plat probably for 30 homes. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. I can't speak for Reyes Construction.
That 3,800 is a maximum per unit. Would there be a minimum?
That's the maximum density. In the MRO zoning district, the density is calculated as written at 3,000 per dwelling unit. So we're adding 800 to that. So when you divide 3.53 acres multiplied by an acre square footage and divide it by 3,800 instead of 3,000, you get 40. If you divide it by 3,000, you get 51. So the maximum density would be calculated on 3,800 square feet. Mr. Reyes could take it upon himself and calculate that density at 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit. You know, that's the max. You also have the, you know, as the planning commission, if you think that max is too much, if you think my staff's recommendation is too much, you can make a recommendation to what you think would be a good density. That is well within your preview as planning commission and within the city of Springfield and you know, administering our zoning ordinances.
All right, any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Move approved.
With 38.
With the 3,800
square feet per dwelling.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah.
Mr. Tackett.
All right, we stand ready to vote then.
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Poole,
Yes.
Mr. Bibb,
Yes.
Ms. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Gregg,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Passes 7-1 to rezone to MRO.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the BZA meeting, May the 11th. Gina, are you going to speak to that?
Yeah, and in your packet, I mean, on the bottom of your packet, it tells you that we have 2 items, but as recently as probably 4:15, we only have 1 item. Brandon Russell is requesting a 3-foot variance from the 25-foot front setback to allow for a 22-foot front setback on Leota Street and 17th Avenue West to allow for a single-family residence to be constructed. It's a corner lot. He is asking for the 22-foot front setback on the Leota Street side. And I've already sent out the packet to the BZA members as well. So that's what he's asking for. As of yet, I've only had one person call, and he just wanted to know what was going on. I have not had any negative response to my letters. And then the second one was David on behalf of the city. He was requesting an interpretation of the zoning property, but he finally found where the corner that we were looking at didn't look like it had been rezoned to CS. We finally found the rezoning ordinance that showed that. So that has been taken off.
I'm embarrassed to say it took me about 4 months to find that ordinance, but I did.
But you found it.
I did.
All right, is there any other thing that anybody wants to bring up under other business tonight? I don't hear anything. Are we ready to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
one thing.
David's got something else.
As always, Savannah City Springfield appreciates y'all's commitment and loyalty and dedication to doing the job that you do. Sometimes it's thankless, sometimes it's difficult, but we appreciate your dedication to the city of Springfield, and thank you for your service.
With that, we will stand adjourned.